What's going on, you guys? I'm back here with another video, and today I'm going to be giving you guys my full review of the late 2013 13-inch Retina display MacBook Pro. So let's go ahead and get started. But now I purchased this particular MacBook Pro off of the Apple website, and I fully upgraded it essentially to the highest specs that you can put in this particular model. This particular MacBook here has a 2.8 GHz Dual-Core Intel i7 processor that can also be turbo boosted up to 3.3 GHz. The RAM that I put into it is a 16 GB 1600 MHz DDR3. So that's the highest that you can put into this particular model. And also I put the 1 TB of flash storage. Previously it has the base model comes with 512 gigabytes of flash storage, but I went ahead and put a terabyte because I just felt that the 512 just wasn't going to be enough for what I'm going to be using this for. So that's basically the customizations that I have put into this. The price came out to be about $3,100 after all the taxes and everything. But if you happen to purchase the base model that does not have all the upgrades, the starting price is $12.99 and goes all the way up to $17.99 for the 13-inch. And if you happen to get the 15-inch version of the Retina display MacBook, it's going to start you at $19.99 and move all the way up to $25.99, which is a pretty hefty price for a starting point. But all of those versions can be fully upgraded to the same specs that I have in this particular model here. So let's go ahead and start with the basic specs, other than the specs that I just talked about. So now the display is a Retina display, like it says in the name. The size, like I said, is 13-inch, but it is diagonal, so it's 13.3 inches across that way. It is also LED backlit with IPS technology, so you're going to get some pretty good viewing angles. And the pixel resolution is 2560 by 1600, which correlates to a pixel density of 227 pixels per inch, which is not bad considering. Let's see, moving on. It also has Bluetooth 4.0, so it has the latest version of the Bluetooth technology. And it also has the latest version of the Wi-Fi as well. It has 802.11 ABG and N, as well as AC, so you can get the fastest Wi-Fi speeds. And you can also take advantage of that Wi-Fi AC technology if you happen to have an Apple AirPort Extreme. So, good thing to get there. As for the dimensions, the height or the thickness is 0.71 inches in depth. So that's how thin it is. And as you guys can tell here, it is an extremely thin laptop. And it only weighs 3.46 pounds, considerably less than the previous MacBook Pro with the DVD SuperDrive built in. It also has the new Intel graphics chip. It is the Intel Iris graphics card, which gives you better overall performance. But keep in mind that it is still an integrated graphics chip, which means that it still will have a slightly hard time running graphically intense applications, such as, for example, Sims 3. I have tested that particular game on this laptop, and I can say it runs pretty well, but it does get fairly hot, and you can start to hear the fan booting up real loud. So keep that in mind if you're going to want to use this particular MacBook to play games. So it can play them, but it just will get really hot and the fan will get really loud. So moving on, it has a 9-hour battery life, which is actually more than the 15-inch model. The 15-inch model only has a 7-hour battery life, which is kind of odd considering that the laptop should actually have more because it's actually bigger, but whatever, it's not a big deal. Also, OS X Mavericks is pre-installed, so you can have the latest version of OS X. Now, you might have to upgrade the software depending on when you purchase this laptop, because when I purchased it, I had to upgrade to the latest, which is OS X 10.9.4, I believe, but it ships with 10.9.3. But that's a different note there. It also has a FaceTime HD camera, which records 720p HD video at 30 frames a second, and it is also a 1.3 megapixel. So, not a bad camera, but it gets the job done. Also, this is just a little other thing here. All MacBooks now, if you purchase any MacBook rather, iLife and iWork are all pre-installed, so you do not have to purchase that separately anymore. So when you purchase a new Mac or iMac or whatever, those applications will be pre-installed, which is nice. So that's basically it of the main specifications for this particular model of the MacBook Pro. Let's go ahead and go to the hardware now. So starting with the top lid here, we have the simplistic design with just the one Apple logo here, which lights up, just like every other previous MacBook, pretty much that there has ever been, which is nice. Right here on the front, we have the indentation, so you can get your finger underneath there and open up the display, make it easier. On this side, let's go ahead and focus in here. Alright, on this side we have the new MagSafe 2 connector, which Apple had to design a new version of the MagSafe connector because the laptop is so thin that the original MagSafe could not actually fit on this particular MacBook. So they had to make it thinner to fit with the design, which I actually like. It makes it easier to plug it in. Next to that, we have two Thunderbolt ports, which also are used as the mini display port. So you would use this to connect adapters, for example, an Ethernet cable or an Ethernet adapter and a FireWire adapter, because this particular MacBook does not come with either of those connectors, so you have to buy an adapter to use those. Next to those, we have the one of two USB 3.0 ports, and yes, this does have USB 3.0, which is nice. Next to that, we have the single 3.5mm headset jack, which supports the Apple iPhone headset with remote and microphone. If you happen to have that, it is supported. Next to that, we have dual microphones, which allows you to get stereo audio, as well as beamforming, as Apple calls it, for voice applications such as the dictation feature. So you can get better audio quality and recognition from that. Moving to the back, we have nothing, just the ventilation system as well as the hinge for the display. On this side, we have the SD card slot, which is always nice to have. And then we have, for the first time on a MacBook, there's now an HDMI port built in, so you can connect to your external monitor or your television directly from your MacBook without needing any special adapter to do so, which is nice. And then lastly, next to that, we have the second USB 3.0 port. On the bottom, we have nothing but the four little rubber feet, as well as two other ventilation ports. So we have one here on the left side, and then we have one on the right side as well. And also, another thing to note, that this particular MacBook Pro with the Retina display, even the 15-inch model, is not user upgradable. So whatever you happen to put in this particular MacBook, such as the RAM and the storage, you're basically forced to keep that for the entire time you have this computer, because you cannot actually upgrade any of those components. Now, there are screws on the bottom, but that is mainly for repairs only. Let's go ahead and open up the display now and take a look at the keyboard. The keyboard is the standard keyboard that has been on all previous MacBook Pros. It is the standard full-size keyboard that is also backlit, so you can see it in the dark. It also has the oversized glass trackpad, which supports multi-touch gestures, which is nice. The trackpad, in my opinion, is one of the best in the industry. So that's pretty it. Also, the power button is moved from the actual body of the computer onto the keyboard to save space. For those of you wondering where the actual power button was, but for people that have used a Mac before, should know where that is now. But anyway, then moving up top here, right up here is where you'd find the 1.3 megapixel FaceTime HD camera. Also, there is the ambient light sensor next to that as well, and also there is a little green indicator light letting you know that the camera is on and functioning. So let's go ahead and boot up the put the password in, rather. I'm going to actually cover the camera because I do not want the password to be shown. Alright, there we are. So the Retina display is actually incredibly good. Colors come out really nice. The smoothness of text and icons is incredible, in my opinion. I mean, everything is smooth and very colorful and crisp. I mean, when you look at this particular Retina display for the first time, you'll be blown away at how good it is. So yeah, one of the best displays on a laptop I have seen, bar none. So yeah, really nice display. Apple has done a fantastic job, in my opinion, on this screen display here. So anyway, here is the screen booted up here. Like I said previously, it is running OS X Mavericks, which that is the most recent or most current version of OS X. I believe the next version is going to be OS X Yosemite, but that's not coming out until later this fall. But yeah, the processor and moving around the overall system is incredibly fast because everything is basically running off of flash-based storage. That would be the memory as well as the RAM are both running off of flash-based storage, so it's getting some really high speeds going on here, and it just opens and closes things really quickly. And navigating the system is incredibly fast as well. So I mean, you still have the gestures, as you can see here, mission control, like so, and then you have the dashboard, notification center, all the basics. So let me go ahead and go over here to About This Mac and show you guys the specs that I was talking about. It's kind of hard to see here, but if you can see this, the processor it's saying is the 2.8 GHz Intel Core i7, and then the memory is the 16 GB 1600 MHz DDR3. And if we go to more info, you can get more information here. Graphics is the Intel Iris 10.9.4, and then we have the storage capacity. As you can see, the starting capacity is 999.7 gigabytes. Of course, there's always that about 1 gigabyte or so that is always taken up by the system. And then we have the memory, and as you can see here, it says no user installable memory slots exist. So that's what I was talking about earlier, where you cannot manually upgrade anything on this MacBook. Everything is pre-installed and is soldered into the actual logic board, and you cannot touch it. But then it has, like you can see, 8 GB for the memory. Yeah, that's basically it of that. I feel that's pretty much it of this particular full review. I feel like I've covered everything. One thing actually I forgot to note. The speakers. The dual stereo speakers that are built into this MacBook are incredibly good, surprisingly. There is one speaker built in on this side and one on this side. You can't see them because they're actually built into the chassis of the actual MacBook underneath the keyboard. But the subwoofer and the actual speakers themselves are much better than the previous version of the MacBook Pro. When you listen to the speakers for the first time, you're going to be blown away, because when I listened to them for the first time when I was playing a song, I think it was, the stereo sound was actually almost like surround sound, because it was just kind of all over the place. I mean, it was really nice. And the subwoofer gives deeper sounds as well, so better, clearer sound there. Anyway, that's basically it. I hope I've covered everything in this full review of the MacBook Pro 13-inch Retina display. If I happen to miss anything, leave a comment in the comment section below, and I'll get back to the comment. And I might make a follow-up video highlighting those missed features or functions of this particular MacBook. So yeah, that's basically it. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button right down there. Give my video a thumbs up. Always appreciate that. Also, comment below if you have any questions, general comments, anything like that. Make sure to do so. So basically that's it. Once again, hope you guys have enjoyed this fairly long review video. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.